Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnur Gurur Devo Maheswaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we were doing second sloka. I think we needed to do the meanings. Can somebody remind me if that is correct?
Yeah.
So we did the Chitagnikunda Sambhuta and Devakarya Samudyata. So now we need to do the meaning for Udyat Bhanu Sahasrabha. And I think we have done the we learned the chanting of these, this sloka as well, right?
It's actually three, not three together, and then you explain that. That's how you said one full three it is.
Correct.
Okay.
So 2 and 3 because they are kind of connected together when we talk about mother's ayudhas. That is divided in the second and the third slokam as well. So we thought we'll do it together.
Thank you.
So does anybody remember the meaning for the namam Chidagni Kunda Sambhuta? I don't want to do any test. I'm just asking the question because there are two different meanings that I have mentioned. One is the gross meaning, and there is another one, the subtle meaning, and more of the macrocosm as well as the microcosm one.
So the one I got here is the fire of consciousness.
Sorry.
The fire of consciousness.
So sorry, I will mute everyone, and I still have to figure out how to mute everybody at the same time. Sorry, I might have muted you by mistake. If you want.
That's okay. No, what I have here is emanating from the fire of consciousness.
Correct. So there are two meanings. The gross meaning is like the Puranic meaning is from Lalitopakhyanam, where the devas were performing the oblations and they were offering their body parts to be oblations and they were about to jump into the fire pit. That's when mother rises from that Chid Agni. And so that is the gross meaning from the Lalitopakhyanam. And then the second meaning is the fire of consciousness and that she awakens from that. And then the third one is more of the scientific from the Big Bang, from that one God's particle, the whatever matter and energy that became the universe. That is the third meaning. And somebody also asked me if I would do any references to Sri Chakram. And to the extent that I'm permitted to do, I will definitely do that. So Sri Chakram itself is a figure, like a geometrical figure, a symbol of universe and expansion, or even the reverse process of the unmanifestation of the universe. So from the bindu, which is what we call as the God's particle, or the consciousness, the Sachidananda Brahman, or the Paramashiva, when we talk about in Sri Vidya, came the whole universe and the layers of so many multiples of the universe. So those are all the different avaranas that you see on Sri Chakram. So one thing that I also wanted to mention before we go into the individual meanings is, as the illuminating power of the universe, she's brilliant as thousands of rising suns, is how it is described. Udyat Bhanu Sahasrabha. Udyat is somebody who is manifesting from or manifested as. Bhanu is sun, and Sahasrabha, which is the Sahasra means thousand. So Sahasra is used to say unlimited, and in regular, like in numericals, it is the thousand. So in this context, it would be she is as brilliant as millions of suns. You can now visualize both mother coming from out of the Chidagni Kundam for accomplishing the Deva Karyas from the Deva Karya Samudyata. Now, the way she looks as she is stepping out of that Chidagni Kundam is that she's so brilliant that probably she dazzled everybody's eyes and they had to do this. Also, when you think about how the universe formed and in Big Bang, it's the brightness and the energy that has come out, the manifested itself out of the single particle to become the universe. So those both meanings would be taken as like the cosmic meaning as well as the Puranic meaning. So it's important to also note.
Ji,
Go ahead.
is there any, because as you're telling this, I was thinking of Draupadi coming out of that, when they are doing the home, there's a story that which she comes out of that sacrificial offering, right?
Right.
Is there any link between this and that?
Yeah, there is. So I don't know if you joined when we were doing Lalitopakhyanam. So the story that you're talking about is from Brahmanda Puranam. It's called the Lalitopakhyanam. So we did that as the primer before going into the namas, because there is a link, like the Puranic link is from there, but Puranas are nothing but a story format of the scientific reasons behind, like the Brahmanda Puranam itself is Brahmandam is the cosmic egg, right? The creation of the universe from the cosmic egg. So Lalita Upakyanam is definitely connected to this meaning for sure. Was that your question? Did I answer your question right?
Guruji, I just lost internet connection and I came back again. So I'm sorry, I didn't hear. I only caught the cosmic egg, so I
Okay,
missed the
okay.
greater part of it.
So I was saying that in Brahmanda Puranam, there is a part of the Puranam called as Lalitopakhyanam, which is actually what you're talking about, where devas do the sacrifice and mother comes out of the sacrificial fire. And this is definitely related to that. So we did the Lalitopakhyanam, we studied that first, and then as the primer, as the context to start studying Lalita Sahasranamas.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Um, So how is this all also related to us is something that I will bring into picture for some of the namas. So the way I have written down my notes here, it says we long to leave a legacy, to contribute somehow so that our lives have some meaning. What we really want is to infuse the world with our consciousness, because we are all conscious beings, and as we keep thinking, like, there is a underlying thread that connects all of us, though there are individual uh, like, hello. Did somebody have a question? Okay. um, so the individual entities, though they are very different and they are identified with the body and mind and a name and a designation and whatnot, but the underlying consciousness is there can only be one consciousness. And there are some philosophies that will tell us, oh, every body comes with a spirit, and, like, everybody has a soul, so there are as many souls as there are bodies and minds. But Advaita philosophy insists and proves very, very with mathematical precision that there is one consciousness, because if I'm conscious, I'm conscious. It cannot be like, I don't have a different awareness than you do. How I perceive things through my mind is going to be different, but the awareness, the perception itself cannot be. Uh, so what we are trying to spread is this consciousness and try to leave a legacy. That's what we try to do, but we are just contributing so that we want to infuse the world with our consciousness. In fact, everything we do is infused with the light of our consciousness. What to say then about Devi? Devi's light that illumines her handiwork, which is the universe. So what Devi is also doing is to spread her consciousness throughout. And she does that through the Icha Jnana Kriya Shakti. So this is a very important concept for us to understand from here, though the Nama specifically don't say it. As we go into the Ayudhas, we also need to understand, of course, Panchabana, so mother holds 5 arrows, is a very easier straightforward meaning to understand. But what are those panchabanas? In order to understand that, we need to understand this concept first. So Icha Shakti is the power of will, and Jnana Shakti is the power of knowledge, and Kriya Shakti is the power of action. Without the Sankalpam, or without the Icha, there is no Jnanam that can be generated, and then without the knowledge of how to do something, we cannot go and act on anything. So even when we talk about the universe and the creation itself, we are saying Bhagwan had a sankalpam to manifest himself as the universe. So there was an ichha, and then he knew how to. So that was the Jnana Shakti, and then the action was performed, which is what we call as the Big Bang. So all these three are the modes of operation of every activity that takes place, has to have these things, and whether it is at the cosmic level, at a macrocosm level, or the microcosm level. Okay. So now we will go into each of these meanings. So we looked at Udyat Bhanu Sahasrabha. Now she Chatur Bahu Samanvita. What? Just going to. Yeah, in Bhaskara Raya's Bhashyam, he only simply says endowed with 4 arms. So I'm not going to go into a lot more detail into that. I'm just making sure that my notes also says the same thing, 4 armed. But there is a lot of detail in the next 4 namas, which is Raga Swarupa Pashadhya is one namam. Krodha Karankushojwala is another namam. And Manorupekshuk Kodanda is one namam. Panchatanmatra Sayaka is one namam. All are 8 syllabled namas. And you will notice quite a few of these 8 syllabled namas, and there is a Srividya significance to it as well. So here, Raga Swarupa Pashadhya, somebody who is holding the noose of desire. So we all know that she has 4 weapons or ayudhas in her hands. There are 5 flower banas in her right hand, the bottom right hand. And there is a sugarcane bow on the left, the bottom left hand. On the top left hand, she has the pasham, and on the top right hand, she has the ankusham. But here we are saying in many of the other Devata Murtis, we notice that it is the Sudarshan Chakram. So there are really like the weapons. But here saying the arrows that she is holding are made up of flowers. The dhanush she is holding is made up of sugarcane. So what's the significance of this versus a regular, like, in Vishnu Sahasranama, we talked about Sharangadhari. He's holding the bow that is named as Sharanga. Now here, it's a sugarcane bow. So what is the meaning behind this? So she's bearing the noose of desire. So first comes the noose, Pashadhya. And I've noticed that in Bhaskara Raya's time, which was, I think, in the 16th or the 17th century, the whatever we call it, like, the banas are here, and the dhanush is here. They are actually in the top hands, and the pasham and ankusham are on the bottom hands. I don't know which one is correct. The murti might have changed a little bit coming into 20th century. But even in Lalita Sahasranamam, the first namam that is given is the Raga Swarupa Pashadhya. And he explains this as, after mentioning her arms, he describes her weapons, which are of 3 kinds, by this and the next 3 namas. Desire raga, or a peculiar mental modification, or wish, ichha. Desire is the supreme, the third vasana form, the noose being the gross form. This weapon she has in her lower left hand, is what he describes it as. But for us, in the current form of when we see Lalita Tripura Sundari's photo, we see the Pasham in the top left. So, want to just make sure that I have some other notes that I want to also. I think I'll just describe that notes once we finish these 4 namas. And then Krodha Akara Ankushojwala. So there are 4 words in this one namam. Krodha, as we all know, is anger. Akara, the shape of. Ankusha is the goad. And Ujjvala, somebody who is brilliantly shining with the Krodha Akara Ankusham. So bearing the goad of wrath. Then the next one, yeah, so I don't want to go into some where he's actually my note says some say krodha means knowledge, but I don't know about that, so I won't go into that. And the next one is mano rupa ikshu kodanda. Ikshu means sugarcane. So mano rupa. So the shape of the mind is the kodandam. Kodandam is the dhanush and made up of ikshu, sugarcane. So mind is the bow of sugarcane, desire the noose, anger is the goad, and the 5 subtle tanmatras, 5 subtle elements are the 5 arrows of flowers, which is the next namam pancha tanmatra sayaka. So pancha is 5, tanmatras are the subtle elements. So it's very important here to understand what are the tanmatras. So we know okay, I should probably take a step back and say, in many of the philosophies, in say, for example, Kashmiri Shaivism or many of the other philosophies, the number of sorry, the word is keeping my mind for some reason. There are 36. Okay, I need to look that up. Give me just 1 second. I don't know why. There are 36. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? And in some philosophy, there are 25 of those, but there are 36. And sometimes I tend to forget the very basic. Sorry, 1 quick second. Yeah, the 36 tattvas. There are Siva Tattvam, Atma Tattvam, and whatnot. Sorry. So I'll provide that list. It would be very helpful. But here, tanmatras are. So we have the jnanendriyas, the karmendriyas. There are 5 of each of those. But the Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha are considered the subtle elements to the gross elements, which are the fire, the earth, and all those 5 pancha elements that we know. These are the subtle elements. So she is keeping those senses and the tanmatras, not even the sense organs, the senses themselves under control using the 5 pancha banas. So pancha tanmatra sayika. Next namam is Nijaruna Prabha.
Sorry, Sriji.
Go ahead.
Tanmatra is senses, isn't in the gross meaning would be senses like eye, sight, smell,
Correct.
speech. Okay.
Yeah.
So she's using the keeping the 5 senses in as which are arrows. So you can use these senses to inflict harm.
Inflict
Could we
harm,
take it
or
that way?
what the weapon she is holding is for us to be in control of those things. So we will see
I
that
see.
meaning. Yeah. So the
Okay.
5 senses, not the sense organs, and the
Yeah.
Ikshudanu is the mind. So when we talk about Chatka Sampatti in Brahma Sutras or anything that Shankaracharya talks about, where there is Shama and Dama. Shama is the control of mind and Dama is control of sense organs or senses. So here mother is showing us, or mother shows the weapons as if they're not to harm somebody in a different form, like Durga or Tiraskarani or Sampatkari. You will see different weapons, but in a Lalita Mahatripura Sundari form, she is helping us control our mind and senses through these 2.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other 2 as well. Raga is under control through the Pasham, and Krodha is under control through the Ankusham. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So can you just explain once again? I mean, I lost track of that. What you said, Krodha.
So Raga, which is the attachment, is the form that is the mother is showing that as the form of Pasham. So through Pasham, she controls our attachment, the mind's attachments. Then the second one is the Krodakarankushojvala. With the Ankusham, she is controlling our anger. Then Manorupekshu Kodanda, with the Ikshu Danush, she is controlling our mind. And Panchatanmatra Sayika, with the 5 flower arrows that represent the 5 tanmatras or senses, she is controlling our senses.
When you say senses, it includes both the subtle and the gross, no?
Yeah, mostly all of these are more psychological, right? Like controlling our senses, controlling our mind, and controlling what we call kama, krodha, lobha, moha, the mada, matsarya, all those, the 6 enemies that we call, she is controlling those as well in the form of like the raga represent, and raga and krodha represent those. Make sense?
Thank you.
Okay. Nijaruna Prabhapura Majjad Brahmanda Mandala. So that is one full namam actually. All the 16 letters is one namam. And it says bathing the universe with her rosy effulgence. Sorry. Bathing the universe with her rosy effulgence. Nija Aruna Prabhapura Majjat Brahmanda Mandala. So those are the individual words that make up that namam. So
Shraddha.
sorry, was that a question? In Saubhagya Bhaskaram, there are some additional descriptions that are given for this Pancha Tanmatra. So while we are saying there are 5 flowers as the arrows, Bhaskara Raya also gives the names of those 5 different flowers. And he says there is a lotus. So that is the gross, the gross meaning of the flowers. The lotus, the Rakta Kaivara, Kalhara, the Indivara, and the mango flower. Apparently, those are the 5 flowers that mother is holding. Not all the same, tulips or lotuses, but she is holding 5 different kinds of flowers. And the subtle form of this, the subtle are the mantras, is how he describes it. So what she's holding is the mantra format of the arrows. And then the third meaning he also gives is the supreme are the vasanas. And the vasanas, he also describes them as causing joy. So this is from Kalika Puranam. He gives that description that each of these will cause joy, something that one of the arrows will cause pleasing, causing confusion, causing to fade, and causing death are considered the 5 arrows. And each of the Tantra Rajam, and there are many other references to Jnanarnava and some other books. And he says there are in each of these, what they represent has been a little differently annotated. So we will not we won't go into that and confuse ourselves. It's important to know the gross form, the subtle form, and the supreme form of these 5 arrows. So did everybody catch that before we move on to the next one?
Yes.
Sorry, Sriji.
Go ahead.
So the arrows cause joy, confusion, pain, and what are the other two?
Yeah, so joy, pleasing, confusion, fade, and death.
Greed and death. Greed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sridevi ji, are you recording the
Yeah, I am recording it. And I think I also
Okay,
provide
yeah.
some additional notes on this to make sure that everybody has got those. Even the names of the Sanskrit flowers is not very easy to capture. So I'll make sure that I'll write down notes for that.
Sridevi Mahodaya,
Go ahead, Ajay Mahoday.
you said the 16 syllable is one name, Nija Rupa, Nija Runa, Pravapura, Majjat Brahmanda Mandala. Is that one name or two names?
One name.
Oh, Nija Rupa, Pravapura isn't up to the one name, no?
No.
Okay.
So this is a full 16 syllabled name, and it means because Nijaruna Prabha Pura doesn't individually like a phrase doesn't make sense, right? With
Okay.
that, she has Majjat means like she encompassed the whole universe, Brahmandam, in that in her rosy effulgence.
Okay.
With that,
Thank you.
the redness. I think Aruna is red, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
But all these, the one which all these are actually what you said earlier was all these are the weapons of Devi.
Till the Pancha Tanmatra Sayaka are the weapons.
Okay.
So where we have like the second line of the second sloka, there are two weapons. The first line of the third sloka describes the other two weapons.
Okay. So from Raga Sarupa till that Manorupeksha till there is all weapons.
Correct. So there are four namas in those two lines, and those represent the weapons.
Okay. And then Nijaruna is the names. One name.
That is one name. Yeah.
Thank you.
I guess from Nijaruna onwards, they are starting to describe the Devi's Rupa, her appearance, right?
Correct. So they've been trying to do that since, like, she came out of the Chidagni Kundam and what is the purpose why she came. And from then on, till like, what does she look like? Like the brilliant millions of suns. And she has four hands. And in those four hands, she's holding those four different weapons. And now, what is that color? So we are describing the mother's gross form as well as understanding the subtlety behind each of these namas now. Okay.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
So the next namam is also a full 16 character namam. Champaka Shoka Punnaga Saugandhika Lasatkacha. And Saugandhika would be the second dha, not the first dha. So here, flowers adorning her hair. Remember when we were talking about the Keshadi Padantam and not telling you there is the other format which is the Pada, the Keshantam. So here, now they are after describing her weapons and her complexion, now they are going into starting from top of her hair and they'll start describing till her nails. Here, so they're saying flowers adorning her hair. And what are all those flowers that they're talking about? This is a Champaka Pushpam, Ashoka Pushpam, Punnaga Pushpam, and Saugandhika Pushpam. So these are the number of kinds of flowers that the mother has in her hair. The physical form of Devi as born from the altar of the fire is described from head to toe, which is what we're currently looking at. And it's also important to understand the subtlety, the mantra form of this meaning. Remember, when we were doing the Purvanyasam, we had two different kinds of Purvanyasam we did. One is the one we are using as the format moving forward. But there was Vagbhava Kutam, the Madhya Kutam and Shakti Kutam we described. So mother's head till here is considered as the Vagbhava Kutam. And till the body part, that is considered as the Madhya Kutam, and her her legs are considered as the Shakti Kutam. So here, Bhaskara Raya reminds us that this is the description of the Vagbhava Kutam of the mother's main mantra. So I won't be able to go into the mantra itself, but the mantra has 3 different portions. There are 15 characters in that mantra. And any mantra will be very effective if you take it from a very qualified guru and not just go and Google online. It won't be a lot of use. And especially mother's mantras, it's a very important thing to just go find a guru. So within that Pandadasi, the 15 syllabled mantra, the first 5 syllables are called as the Vagbhavakutam, and they represent mother's head part. So here now the description of that Vagbhavakutam is also being described. So,
Now in that Asishri Lalita Sahasranama, when we are saying that, at that time we describe mother, all the three parts in that. All that we say, Madhyama Kutam, all that we going to say that. Is that correct?
correct. If we were going to use that Purvanyasam versus the one that we are currently using is with Bijaksharas, the Aim and Kleem and Shreem.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So her hair gives scent to the flowers, is how Bhaskara Raya describes it, because the flowers don't need to give scent to the mother. The mother gives scent to the flowers because she is the creator and would have given all the physical and the subtle forms of everything that exists. It is said, "Thou knowest, O honey bee, the smell of the flowers. Give me the truth. Can I compare the odors of the hair of Devi with anything?" So even the honey bees have come there not because of the smell of the flowers, but because of Devi's hair. They thought that is what is the most beautiful flower. So we move into the next one. Kuruvinda Manishreni Kanat Kotira Mandita. So that is also a 16 syllabled mantra. So here Kuruvindam Manishreni. So her crown is resplendent with rows of Kuruvinda gems. They are also called as the Padmaragas. And in Garuda Puranam, in the Ratna chapter, describe different kinds of rubies which can be obtained from different mines and rivers. So this is the description that I got from somewhere. So there are 3 types of rubies. The rubies obtained from Kuruvinda are to be preferred to those from Spatika and other forms of Kuruvindas. They confer love, prosperity, and devotion to Hari, is how it is described. The drift is, if one who meditates on her as wearing such gems, his devotion will be increased, is the description that Bhaskara Raya provides. So she is wearing a crown. Now they've described the hair, the flowers in the hair, and now they're moving on to the crown. So the next one, we'll have to do the sloka before we do the meanings. So I think the format for this, we will do 2 slokas at a time. So if somebody wants to chant with me. And even these namas, Ashtami Chandra Vibhraja, Dalikasthala Shobhita. There are 2 Mahapranas here. One is Vibhraja, not Vibraja. So Bha is a second Bha. And Dalikasthala, Sa is a regular Saraswati Sa. But Tha underneath the is a second Tha, not Ta. So Ashtami Chandra Vibhraja Dalikasthala Shobhita. That's the first namam. The next one is Mukha Chandra Kalankabha Mruganabhi Visheshika. So in this nama again, Mukha Chandra Kalankabha is the second bha, and Mruganabhi is the second bha. Visheshika, you will notice that there are 2 different kinds of sibilants here. They are neither like, it's not the Saraswati Sa. The first one we say is like the Shiva Sha, and the Sha after that is a Shanmukha Sha. So Viseshika.
Is it we say Shika or we say Shaka? Because the print here showed Sha, not She.
I have learned it as Viseshika. So one second, let me also refer to what Bhaskara Raya calls it.
I think it's Visheshika.
Yeah, sorry. Mukhachandra Kalamkava Mruganabi Viseshaka. So there is, I think, both formats in Bhaskara Rayas. He uses a Sha. But I've learned it as Viseshika.
So both is correct.
Both is
Visheshika.
correct, yeah. The next namam is also a 16-syllable namam. Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruha Torana Chillika. And there is no Mahaprana here. Everything is the regular. But Chillika would be a Dhirgam at the end, Ka. So we have to not say Chillika, but Chillika. And Vaktra Lakshmi Parivaha Chalanmeenabha Lochana. Chalanmeenabha Lochana. So the Bha is a second Bha. And it's important to use the Mahaprana and Alpaprana, especially when we are reciting or chanting the names of Mother or Bhagavan. It's very important to emphasize on these clearly. So with that breakdown, does somebody want to chant with me?
I can.
Awesome. Ashtami Chandra Vibhraja Dalikastala Shobhita.
Ashtami Chandra Vibhraja Dalika Sthalastobhita.
Can everybody else mute, please? Mukha Chandra Kalankabha Mruganabhiviseshika.
Mukachandra Kalankabha Mruganabhivisheshika.
We'll do the same sloka one more time. Ashtami Chandra Vibhraja Dalikastala Shobhita.
Ashtami Chanda Vibhraja Dalika Stalasobhita.
Mukha Chandra Kalankabha Mruganabhiviseshika.
Mukachandra Kalankabha Mruganabhivisheshika.
Yeah, note that the kabha would be a second bha, so there has to be an extra emphasis on it. We'll move to the next sloka. Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruha Torana Chillika.
Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruhatorana Chillika.
Vaktra Lakshmi Parivaha Chalan Meena Bhalochana.
Vaktra Lakshmi Parivaha Chalalmeena Bhalochana.
We'll do this one more time, please. Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruha Torana Chillika.
Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruhatorana Chillika.
Vaktra Lakshmi Parivaha Chalan Meena Bhalochana.
Vaktra Lakshmi Parivaha Chalalmeena Bhalochana.
Awesome. So we'll look at meanings for these two slokas. So here, Ashtami Chandra Vibhraja Dalikastala Shobhita. So what it is saying, Ashtami Chandra. So the moon during waxing or waning phase is exactly of the same shape on the Ashtami day, the 8th day within the 15 days of the waxing and the 15 days of waning. So this is one tithi where the moon is of the same shape. So what are they saying? Forehead shining like the crescent moon of the 8th night of the lunar half month. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yes.
Can you do it once? Okay.
Yeah. So in the tithi, in a lunar month, there are 15 tithis for the waxing phase and the 15 tithis for waning phase of the moon. We call it the Shukla Paksham and the Krishna Paksham. In the waxing phase, which starts from the Amavasya, and the moon is like a small little crescent, a very like a thin crescent, and then he is going to turn into a Paurnami, the full moon, and then comes back and becomes the crescent again in the Krishna Paksham. So when this waxing and waning are happening, the moon has different shapes. The one shape that is common and looks the same in both the phases is the Ashtami Chandra. So what they're saying is they are comparing that Ashtami Chandra moon to mother's forehead. So forehead shining like the crescent moon of the 8th night of the lunar half month is the description. So forehead that shines like the Ashtami Chandra is the essence of this meaning. There is a subtle mantra related meaning to this that is not given in Saubhagya Bhaskaram. So for each of these tithis, when we call about the Padyami, Vidya, Tadiya, I don't know what the regional names are for these. In Sanskritam, we call them Padyami, Vidya, Tadiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, Sashti, etc. So there are forms of mother, devi forms that are given that preside each of these tithis. So there are individual names, and each of these mothers have a name, a yantra, and a mantra, and a stotram for the tithi devatas. We call them the tithi nitya devis. So the tithi nitya devi that presides over Ashtami is the mother Tvarita. And Tvarita means something that is moving quickly. I think there is a regional language usage too of the word Tvarita. In Telugu, we call it the Tvaraga, something closer to that. So something that moves faster or quickly, and those kind of meanings. So here the mantra connotation is, and the reason why they provide Ashtami Chandra reference here is that mother who gives results very quickly is the other subtle meaning or the mantra meaning that has to be taken here. But this is not from Saubhagya Bhaskaram. This is an extension based on my Sri Vidya study. The next one is Mukha Chandra Kalankabha Mruganabhi Viseshika. Now, after the forehead, the next one that they are describing is wearing a musk mark on her forehead, which shines like the spot in the moon. So this is mother's bottu, the kunkumam we are talking about. Then next one is Vadanasmara Mangalya. Sorry, I'll just read from here too. The tiny mark of Kasturi on it is like the spot in the moon. So that's the only description that gets given in Saubhagya Bhaskaram as well. The next one is
Black. Sorry, I had a question. Is it a
Sure.
black spot on the moon? Is that how it is?
No, it's like the Kasturi, like what we wear for the bottu, right? So it's like the spot on the moon. That's how her whole face is brilliant and shining, and on that there is a spot which is the Kasturi or the Kunkuma.
Is it Dalikasthala or Alikasthala? Ashtami Chandra
Vibhraja Dalika Stala Shobhita.
So it is Dalika.
Dalika, yeah. La as in the second la, not the yara la, but the ending la, and Dalika Stala Shobhita. When you asked that question, it just did not occur to me if there is any Sandhi rule that's happening here. So I will look it up to see exactly what the breakdown of this namam is, and I can post that information.
Thank you.
Okay. The next one is Mukha Chandra Kalankabha Mruganabhi Viseshika. Oh, we did that, right? Sorry. Did we? Yeah, so we did that. So the next one we are looking for is Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruha Torana Chillika. Eyebrows arch leading to Kama's palace. As if, like, remember in olden days, we used to have like the mango leaves and everything tied to the thresholds of the house, like the dwaram of the house. So the eyebrows are actually looking like they are the entrance to the palace of Kama. And here, there is some subtle meaning for this one that denotes two rainbows. For some reason, my notes is not descriptive enough to be able to talk about it. So I will also find that information and post it. So Vadanasmara Mangalya. So 6-1. The next one is Vaktra Lakshmi Parivaha Chalan Meenabha Lochana. I have heard many people breaking this or taking pause at the wrong place in this one. So I will want to specify that. It has to be Chalan Meenabhalochana, not Chalanmi Nabhalochana, which will change the meaning into something completely different. It is Meena. Meenas are the fish. So here it's saying eyes like fish moving in calm waters is the description. So Vaktralakshmi Parivaha Chalan Meenabhalochana. The eyes are like fishes playing in the tank of the beauty of her face, is how Saubhagya Bhaskaram describes it. Next one. Yeah. So shall we
Sorry.
do? Oh, we actually are at 10:46. If there are any questions, I can take those.
In these 4 slokas that you said, that
Mhm.
we just went with, how many namas are there? We didn't go through, you didn't, I may have missed it totally. How many namas? Because the
Okay.
previous ones you told us the namas.
Okay, so why don't we go through first sloka onwards till here to see how many namas in each of the lines. In the first line of the first slokam, there are 3 namas. In the second line, there are 2. In the third line, there are 2, and exactly at 8 syllables each. And even in the fourth line, there are 2 8-syllable namas. In the fifth one, the third sloka first line, there are 2 8-syllable namas. Then the second line of the third sloka is a one single namam of all the 16 characters. And the fourth one is also like, from here, all the slokas till number 6, there is one namam per line. They're all 16 syllable namas.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll conclude it with a short prayer. I will provide some more clarification on some of these namas to the degree I'm allowed to do. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु. Sarvam Sri Paradevatarpanamastu. Thank you so much for joining. We'll catch up next week.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Guruji.
Guruji.
Thank you.
See you next week.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.